Welcome back, everyone. As you probably guessed from the thumbnail and the title, this is the firearm that we are going over here today. This is the H&K VP9A1 F. So there's a lot there in that name. Let's break it down for you in terms of what that all means before we get into the details of the firearm itself. H&K, Heckler Koch, of course, the famous German firearms manufacturer, is the HK part of that. The VP9 in German, the VP stands for, or translates to rather, people's pistol. So Volkspistol, if you will. And then 9, of course, for 9mm, F being the full-size version, and then A1 being the current version of the firearm itself. So again, this is the full-size version. We have already reviewed here on the channel the K version, K meaning kurz in German, so short. So basically, this is the full-size version of their compact gun. This one here is sort of Glock 19 size. Glock 17 size, sort of an easy way to think of it for the American market. You guys can see there when you line them up side by side, the big difference there is the barrel on the K is 4 inches. Barrel and slide, of course, are a little bit longer there on the F, barrel being 4.53 inches on there. And then, of course, the grip is going to be longer as well on the full size, and the magazine compatibility, not compatibility, rather, capacity is different, of course, on the full size as well. This one, if you live in a free state, will come with a 17-round flush fit mag, and then, of course, the standard capacity 20-round mag here that you guys see in the gun right now. These magazines, of course, will fit in all the VP9s, though, so that certainly is a nice feature of them. So, A1, what changed with the A1? Well, a number of different things, and to get into that, I suppose, let's just kind of start here at the bottom and work our way up on the pistol. We already mentioned the magazine capacity of the firearm itself. Many of you who are savvy out there may have noticed that I dropped the magazine with the ambidextrous paddle release. I personally prefer that. That is, in my opinion, a superior magazine release for a couple reasons. Number one, it's ambidextrous. Number two, it's virtually impossible to bump and accidentally drop your mag. With a side button type of mag release, that absolutely is possible, especially if you have an ambidextrous one. Then it becomes extremely possible, in my opinion, and almost probable in a lot of especially concealed carry type scenarios. I've ranted about that on the channel here for years now. Nothing has changed, in my opinion, in that regard. Moving back down here to the bottom of the pistol, interestingly enough, one of the changes they made to this gun versus the standard VP9, which I do have a review of, I think I did it in 2014. It's one of the first reviews on my channel. It is terrible. I do not recommend you watch it. But if you want to see it, you guys can go back and look at all the details of it. But they flared the magazine well out here in a very different way than they did on the VP9, the original one. So the original one here had sort of like cut into it on the frame, and it was relieved in that regard, so that way you could grip and rip the magazine easier. HK took a different response rather to this one, or a different approach to this one. They flared it out, making the reloads a little bit easier, which certainly is nice. And on the magazine base plates, they actually put these pieces right here, so it's extended and serrated, so that way you can actually get a good grip on it there from the magazine base plate itself. I definitely like that. It definitely aids in reloads and still gives you that ability, once again, to forcefully rip that magazine out should you get a double feed and need to do so. Continuing on up in the grip here, this is something that a lot of people who like VP9s really like about the guns. It is extremely modular in terms of setting up your grip. So basically, there's 3 different parts that you can take off and remove and change out. You have your back strap here, piece that you can take off, and then both of your side panels are replaceable. There is up to 28 different combinations that you can set up to get the grip exactly how you want it for your hands. As I've mentioned many times here on the channel, I have XL size hands for gloves, and that is how it is set up for me with the largest back strap on there. I didn't change out the side pieces, but you can do that. But with that large back strap on there, that for me is very comfortable, easy to hit the trigger, and still gives me some room to put my sport hand in there and get a nice grip on the pistol. But if you have small hands, large hands, whatever, again, you can set it up however you want. That definitely is a nice feature of the gun, in my opinion. Talk about texture. So right now, as I'm recording this, it's in the 90s. It's hot here in humid Florida, and that is something that I would like to see a little bit changed, if you will, in the future. It's a good grip texture. There's nothing wrong with it. It's actually very similar to the original VP9, but I would like a little bit more aggressive. That's just me, because again, right now, as you guys can see, I'm sweating, my hands are sweating, and the grip's not as tactile and sticky, if you will, or grippy as I personally would like. That said, I know a lot of people really love this grip texture, so I get why HK didn't change it, but definitely the areas they could make it more aggressive on and probably not hurt anything, if you will, is the back strap there. And then on the front strap as well, because even if you're concealed carrying it, the sides of the gun are what generally speaking, rubs up against you and could possibly irritate your skin if you had an aggressive grip. The other thing I would like to see improved, if you will, on the gun is grip texture. So the grip texture stops right about here. I'd like to see it continue on up, and the main reason for that is going to be my support hand. So my support hand, when I come in there, I'm kind of gripping a lot of smoothness there, and I would like to be able to get a little bit more texture on there if they ever make a version 2 of this gun. But it's not bad. There's nothing wrong with it. The ergonomics of the pistol are fantastic. It feels good in your hand. It points very well, especially with the ability to set it up for what you like. So kind of hard to go wrong with that. Continuing on up on the actual frame itself, we do have ambidextrous controls in terms of both the magazine release as well as the slide lock. I know from reading the comments on this video here that I did for the K model, a lot of people were saying that they were getting no slide lock with this slide release button because basically they were hitting it with their support palm on their hand, which I totally get. A lot of guns I do that on. I have not had that happen on these guns at all though, but just be aware of that. It could be a training issue, but in my opinion, it's very well done. Has good texturing on it, allowing you to push up and lock it as well as release it. Just there's a good bite to it, but it is larger than some out there, so I can see how people do inadvertently hit it. Just hasn't happened to me yet. Now, before we continue on to this trigger, which is one of the things that these guns are known for, we do need to thank the sponsor of today's video, and that is the good folks over at 1775 Coffee. Many of y'all have heard about the good folks over at 1775 Coffee, and many of you have probably also seen that a lot of their new launches quickly sell out. But if you still haven't tried 1775 Coffee yet, this is your shot because they just launched their 1775 starter kit. And the first drop is limited to just 1,000 units. The starter kit isn't some dinky sampler pack. It's a full-on pack of caffeinated freedom. A bold, dark roast that hits harder than a CNN fact check. A smooth, medium roast for strength without bitterness. And Vitality Mushroom Coffee for clean energy, laser focus, and zero crash. All of their coffee is single origin, small batch, mold-free, and toxin-free. Plus, you're also getting a gold spoon clip because Freedom isn't scooped with plastic, a frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's political opinions, and a black 1775 tumbler that says, "I don't take life advice or caffeine from a woke sea witch." That's $170 worth of gear, yours for $99. This is for the folks out there who have been watching 1775 Coffee blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler alert, it absolutely is. Go to 1775coffee.com/GNG and grab your starter kit before they're gone. That code there and that website will get you guys the discount that you see on your screen. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something, just like Rumble does. Start your day with a coffee that actually backs what you believe. Now let's get back into that VP9. All right, let's get into that trigger. The VP9s have been known for some of the best striker-fired triggers out there on the market since they came out now for over a decade. And this one, they actually took it up to another level with this one. So we have verified that we are clear, and we are going to zoom in here on that trigger. It does have the dingus safety, if you will, so that way unless you pull on the actual piece in the middle, the trigger cannot actuate if you drop it or anything like that. I can pull as hard as I want to on there and it will not happen. But basically we have our take up and then our wall and a very, very clean break. This one here breaks right at 4 pounds, 12 ounces, right up to 5 pounds on my trigger scale gauge. And the reset itself, when we actually rack it, take a look at it, very tactile, very audible. You're back on that wall again. Very clean break. One thing they did on this trigger to make it a little bit improved from the original VP9s, which again were already very good, is they actually used nickel boron to cover all the surfaces of the trigger itself, just smoothing it up. And so out of the box, it kind of feels like a broken in VP9 original trigger with like 3,000-4,000 rounds on it, but you get that right out of the box with that nickel boron finish there on the trigger, which certainly is nice. Continuing on to the trigger guard itself, relatively large trigger guard. That's one thing a lot of folks like, which kind of makes sense being that the gun was designed in Germany. Tends to be relatively cold over there and folks wear gloves a lot. So people who in America wear gloves professionally or just out hunting or whatever the case may be, they appreciate that you do have a decent amount of room there in that trigger guard. Additionally, it does have the serrations there up front for those of you guys who shoot like that, which I personally don't, but there are people who have literally won world championships who shoot like that, so I'm not going to mock it if that is you. Continuing on forward there, we do have 1913 rails up front, so that way you can add your lights, lasers, whatever you want to add on there just fine. We have done that throughout the review, as I'm sure many of you guys have seen. And one thing that's again a little bit different from the original is that on the frame there, right behind the 1913 rail, we do have these sort of memory pads, if you will. It's not like super textured that you can bite down on it or anything like that, but it is a place to remind you where to put your trigger finger, or perhaps your thumb if you have small hands on your opposite side. Now, let's continue on up to the slide itself. Definitely some differences on this VP9A1 version versus the original. The serrations are very different. These ones are actually thinner in terms of the actual metal that is sticking out, if that makes sense. And it gives you just a little bit more positive bite on it than the original one did, for sure. The original one was fine, but these ones are a little bit more aggressive, which I personally like. And I think one of the reasons for that is that now, of course, they're all optics ready. So a lot of folks like to come underneath and load like that with the optic on there. So just makes sense that HK would continue that forward. It does have a nitrocarburized finish on there. All the components in the slide will have that. Very good corrosion resistance, very good surface hardness, very good lubricity. I have never had an HK product rust on me, and there are very few companies that I can say that about. Of course, living in the Southeast where it's humid constantly and, you know, carrying these up against your body, those sorts of things, guns tend to rust. I've never had an HK one do that. So whatever they're using for their finish certainly is very good in my opinion. Another change they made on the new A1 series is going to be on the sights. Now this one here from the factory comes with this Holosun SCS. That's the model that they sent me. Full disclosure on that, if I didn't say it already. HK did send these guns out for review. They don't get to see them, see the video rather before it goes up, anything like that. They don't have any input, but they did send it to me. They're not paying me anything like that, but they sent it out. Full disclosure. So this one here, this model comes with this Holosun SCS optic on there, which is a solar charging sight. So it has that little solar panel on the back, and it has an internal battery. So there's no way to switch the battery out or anything like that, but it does work very well so far. I've had zero issues with it. We have already done a drop test as well with it. Stay tuned if you guys want to see the results of that. However, there's a ton of different plates that are available from the folks over at HK. So as far as I know, all of the common optics that are out there on the market, if you guys want to use it with this gun, you can do so. But getting back to the sights, they changed that. They sort of made a rolling change along the way. So the VP9 that I originally reviewed, 10 years ago now, had the Novak style sights, and they actually changed them to the hook style sights on the optics ready version like this that comes with the Holosun SCS. It has just blacked out sights, and if you just get the one without the SCS, it comes with a tritium front sight, just FYI on that one. But these ones allow you to run the optic on a ledge, a belt, a boot, whatever the case may be, and I definitely prefer that. They also take up a little bit less room on the slide, which probably is why they actually went to it, to allow for more room for their optics mounting system. But regardless, it's very good sights, and there are rather aftermarket options available. As you guys can see here, we swapped it out with a set of XS sights, which I certainly do like. These ones here are optic height. So with this Holosun SCS sitting so low, they're basically a direct co-witness. I would probably, if I was to do it again, I'd probably just order standard height sights from the folks over at XS, because the SCS is so low, they'll sit in the lower quarter of the window. However, preference issue on that, and certainly they don't get in the way at all, so not mad about that at all. Big fan of the XS sights, as many of you guys know, with that serrated rear on there, and then the tritium front there. It's kind of my preferred setup. So one thing that I also dig about this gun is the actual takedown. So it's a very simple, very easy maintenance on this firearm. This is your takedown lever here. Basically, you're going to lock your slide to the rear by pushing up on your slide stop. It is ambidextrous, and it does work on both sides. So a lot of slide lock, slide stops claim to be ambidextrous, but when you actually go to use them, they really aren't. This one absolutely is. At this point, we're going to rotate our lever there 45 degrees down. And one thing that's interesting about it is that with a magazine in, you can't rotate the lever. It will not let you do it. Like, it physically blocks you from doing it, which I think is a smart design from a safety perspective. Basically, you just rotate it down and let your slide go home, press the trigger, slide comes right off the gun. You can see, looking in there, some of those nickel boron trigger components that I talked about earlier. You can also see a very large locking block in there on the front. These guns are tested to 90,000 rounds with NATO pressure ammo. So that is crazy. In terms of durability, the VP9s have some of the best track record out there on the market. Essentially, they are a modernized, improved version of the P30. There's a long lineage there if you wanted to actually track it. P30s are known as some of the most durable guns out there on the market as well, and they just continue that with the components here on the inside of the actual grip itself. Additionally, again, there's not a whole lot going on here. You have your captured recoil spring on there with a steel guide rod, which a lot of people do like. And then you have your barrel, as we talked about earlier. This one here is 4.5 inches, 4.53, I believe, to be exact. And it is cannon grade steel. HK's hammer forged cannon grade steel. Has a nice crown out there on the end. And just like a lot of other HK models out there, it's probably impossible for me to actually capture this on camera, but it has a little bit of a raised portion right there on the barrel that helps give good consistent lockup when it is locked up into the slide on there. Some HKs use O-rings for that. Some of them just use an enlarged portion, just like that one. And that gives you very consistent lockup with very good accuracy. HK VP9s have always been extremely accurate. These ones are no different. They're as accurate as any striker-fired gun out there on the market, in my experience. And of course, we have nice wide feed ramps on there for feeding hollow point ammunition, which we certainly have done at this point. This gun has right about 1,500 rounds through it at this point, and you guys can see the wear looks fantastic. I mean, there's definitely plenty of wear that is visible, but it looks good. It looks uniform, nothing crazy like that. And it has fed every single thing that we have put through it. Of course, most of that has been Minuteman munitions, 124 grain, full metal jacket, but we also put some Fiocchi 147 grain hollow points through it, as well as some S&B 115 grain hollow points. It's ate it all up just fine. Now we're going to see how it runs with some hollow points, 147 grain Fiocchi from our friends at Firearms Depot. Can't really do any better than that. So we've got the firearm back together. A few other things to talk about here before we close the video out. Some pros, well, reliability, accuracy, we already talked about that. It can't be more reliable than this one has been so far. Now, of course, we did the video with the K model relatively soon to when they actually came out, because I just wanted to get you guys some information on the new models. This one I wanted to put a little bit higher round count through and get more rounds through it, just to kind of test it out more long term, to let you guys know how it has performed. Again, it has performed as well as humanly possible. Cannot be mad about that. So pros in terms of what you actually want from a self-defense gun: reliability, accuracy, ergonomics. It has all of those things. There's a couple cons to the pistol. One of them I already talked about so far. I'd like a little bit more aggressive on the grip texture and to continue the texture up a little bit higher. My personal preference. You guys may disagree with that. That is just fine. The other con of this gun is that the actual bore access on the gun is relatively high. One of the things HK did to mitigate that was to keep the slide mass basically the same as the original VP9. So the original VP9 had a 4-inch barrel, and if you actually look at some of the relief cuts back here on the rear of the slide on the inside, that is something they did to make the slide essentially the exact same mass as the original one. So that way it's not super heavy with that higher bore access, giving you more muzzle flip as you fire it. It is a little bit snappier than, say, a similar size, similar weight Glock 17, for example. It's going to have a little bit more muzzle rise, but of course that just kind of is physics due to the actual pivot point that we have here with that slightly higher bore access. That said, would that stop me from using this gun as a duty gun or a home defense gun or anything like that? Absolutely not. There's other things about this gun that I do like versus other competitive options. So again, it wouldn't be a deal breaker for me. It's just something to know that if you're looking for like the ultra racy flat shooting gun, this probably isn't the one for you. However, if you're looking for bomb-proof, reliability, durability, all of those sorts of things, then it's definitely one to take a look at, with an excellent trigger, I might add, and good ergonomics. So pros and cons to all pistols for sure. The last con that we're going to talk about is that for a striker-fired gun, it's relatively expensive. So for the model that does not have the Holosun SCS on it, I believe the MSRP is $979. With the SCS, of course, it is a little bit more, but street price is going to be less than that, but it's certainly not going to be inexpensive, right? It's HK. Most people know HK hates the poors. That's the meme, and they're not inexpensive. That's not really where they try to position themselves in the market either, though. What they want is a person who wants the highest quality gun with the feature set that they offer. That's what they're going for at HK. And in my opinion, I think they've hit it, because these things are selling like crazy, and they have since they've come out. So the price point doesn't seem to be driving people away, at least not en masse anyway. So with that, that's pretty much all I have for you. If you have any questions about the VP9A1 F, definitely let me know down below in the comments section, or you can let me know over at my various social media pages. If you guys aren't following me over there, I definitely recommend you do, particularly the non-meta ones. When these things go on sale, things like that, they'll go up there. Not on meta though, so definitely I recommend you guys follow me on X, Truth, Rumble, all of those sorts of places where we can actually talk freely and post stuff without too much censorship. So there's that. If you guys like this type of video and you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you've done that and you're still not seeing 2 to 4 videos a week here on the channel, you're being blocked from my content by an algorithm. Easy way around that is to sign up for the email at the website here on your screen. This will get you put on 2 different emails. It'll get you put on the monthly email that goes out once a month, and it has all the videos since the previous month's email went out, so that way there's no big tech giant censoring your eyes from my content. What a concept. And then it'll also get you put on the daily deals email as well. So if this gun goes on sale, I've seen some killer prices on this already, but if this gun goes on sale, magazines, optics, ammo, lights, lasers, etc., any of that stuff goes on sale, it'll go in the daily deals email. If the item, whatever the item is in the email on a given day, it's the cheapest that I know of for that item anywhere on the internet. So that way, hopefully it saves you guys some money and saves you some time as well, because I've already done the price comparisons for you. Additionally, we also have an SMS list that you guys can sign up for. That goes out at most once a day, and it has one of 2 things in there. It'll either have a new video that dropped, or it'll have a smoking deal in there that likely will sell out very quickly, so that way it doesn't have to go into your email inbox. It'll just go straight into your SMS inbox on your phone. So there is that. That's all I got for you. Thank you all for watching. I truly appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing everybody in the next video.